Okay, Allison Chinchar, thank you. And that is your afternoon rush. But we want to look at how people are preparing for this massive hurricane Dorian that is barreling toward Florida. And for that, let's go to Jacksonville. And John Phillips, he and his wife lived through Hurricane Irma back in 2017. That was one of the strongest hurricanes ever recorded in the Atlantic. At one point when it was over water, it was a Category 5. And John joins me now. John, I know you spent 18 months at the time out of your house trying to rebuild. How are you still feeling the effects of that?
I posted last night that we're kind of experiencing a little bit of PTSD as Dorian comes barreling at us. Irma kind of came up the state, and this one is coming pretty close. And after spending a year and a half outside of our house, dealing with FEMA, dealing with the city on a rebuild of our house, it doesn't have us feeling great.
And we're looking at some of the images of what it looked like where you were there in Jacksonville during Irma. I mean, how are you preparing? Half of these houses are halfway underwater.
The Category 4 news it kind of is going to make our family regroup. So we have kids ranging now from 2, because it was right at the 2-year, September 11th, right at the 2-year mark since Irma came through, to 7. And for both of the prior storms that came to Jacksonville, Matthew and Irma, we got out of Dodge. You can always rebuild your stuff, or that was the saying that people kept saying. And so now that it's Category 4, my wife and I are texting right before this interview about whether we're going to leave, but we're certainly stocked up on all the supplies of generators, waters. We've been through that. I'm a Gulf Coast lifer. I'm used to hurricanes, but they just seem to be stronger and more current.
Well, and also since Hurricane Andrew, they haven't seen a hurricane with this kind of strength. So even seasoned veterans like you, what was that text conversation like? Are you guys going to stay behind and stay with the house?
It's a little different now because we finally got back in and we finally got rebuilt. And it's supposed to be a little bit more hurricane compliant, but if the floodwaters come up, they come up. And we were fortunate enough to have FEMA and flood insurance. There's people in Jacksonville 2 doors down from us that still haven't rebuilt. There's neighborhoods that still have tarps. So we'll probably leave, but some people can't. And it's just the tragedy of hurricane season in Florida.
Well, I mean, also just describe what it's like to have just gone through 18 months of insurance companies dealing with FEMA, which we've heard from some people, the hurricane last year, they haven't even gotten their insurance payouts. I mean, just the headache of it, only to be faced with this yet again.
It's horrible. I mean, it really is a living nightmare. Now, we survived and we were healthy, and some people aren't that lucky. But losing baby books and memories of your children and seeing things ravaged by flood, it is horrible. It's the first time in 44 years that I had to experience it. But my kids, my 2-year-old and my 5-year-old are deathly afraid of this storm because they've seen it ravaged. Their friends at school all were out of their houses too. And so we're kind of getting prepared, but trying to figure out, what we need to do to get out of Dodge potentially too, just depending upon the track. And we're watching a lot of CNN and HLN.
All right, good. Well, stay with us and keep in touch with us and let us know how you fare. We're thinking about you guys there in Jacksonville. John Phillips.